What's up, and welcome back to another Maine Taxi Driver Exposed. It's me, Cider, also the Maine Taxi Guy. I hate to break it to you, I'm not in jail. Didn't end up dealing heroin or whatever else the theories were over there on 4chan about my demise. But I'm David, that Maine bro, the Maine Taxi Guy. You check the videos out on YouTube, by the way. Punch it up into the search bar. There's quite a few of them out there. I recommended Megusa in the last stream here. But today, here we are. We're here to talk about Murder Mountain and the Skinwalker Reservation. These two are the ones that were talked about a lot on 4chan in that they attracted a lot of attention, I guess. People like the Skinwalker and the feral human thing. Sorry, my internet's country internet. You know, Maine internet, it's haunted, right? People like the feral human thing as well as the Skinwalker thing. For those of you who don't know what a Skinwalker is, it is a shape-shifting person. Native Americans, some Native Americans believe that it took the form of a wolf or a forest animal, and then in other cultures, Skinwalkers were people who could change their own faces into other people, for instance. So in this regard, though, the Murder Mountain story, this talks about the feral humans out there in Maine. If you don't know, there's a whole corner of Maine. Let me bring up a map. That'll help. Let me bring up a map. Map of Maine. The state is 95% forest, by the way, right? So let me see if I can find it. So the state's 95% forest. So what you end up with is a cluster of people around certain areas and certain other areas completely vacant of any type of human footprint, interaction, anything like that. And that would be this place right here called the Allagash. You see this Greenville, Millinocket, Holton, Monticello, Ashland. See, there's nothing in here. There's a bunch of territory lines, sure, but there's nothing in here. Curious, Montreal is just across the St. John, featured right here, but for some reason, this spot in Maine is all spooky and uninhabited. Not really sure why. But that's where I think the feral humans come from, right? The ones you hear about that they don't speak English, they don't act like people, they behave like animals. Feral. So Murder Mountain is a story about David encountering a feral human. But in true David fashion, he's not confronting evil. This is the trick with David. He does not confront evil. He runs away from it. He avoids it. He gets afraid of it, right? So in this story, David has taken a family to the mountain, to Sugarloaf Mountain. It's down south here in Maine, very popular destination for skiers year round. They make snow there even when there isn't enough. I think right now they are making snow right now, actually. So this could be a good time to go skiing, folks. Again, I'm sorry, I have Maine internet, so if I blurb out a little bit here, it's it's the ghosts clogging up the internet. But so the story about David going down to Sugarloaf, this is based on an actual like in taxi services we call them runs, right? The runs. So Central, as it were, is the central office. And they had told me that this family would like to be picked up at the Portland airport, brought to Sugarloaf Mountain, and they would like to be escorted around the area, around the mountain by the company. So stay with them, essentially. So room and board was provided, food was provided, stayed at the other end of the ski lodge. So the family got to be on their own little Richie Rich trip up front. I had to stay back in a little hotel space with a bar out back and all the ski bunnies that didn't want to hang out on the dance floor. Good time, right? But when David's story happened is not too different. So, but the feral human part, obviously, I didn't run into any feral humans. It was a fairly boring trip. Kids learned how to French fry and pizza slice. You know that trick from South Park and The Simpsons, where you go careening down the mountain. That happened a couple times, but nobody got hurt or anything like that. In David's story, though, he's smoking a cigarette one night after he's brought the family up here. They bought all the ski equipment, and he's smoking a cigarette outside. He hears a noise out from underneath the Escalade. Now, this is his prized vehicle. It's very rare that I put David in the Escalade. It's only for high-paying, highfalutin customers. Best of the best, right? So David is outside having a cigarette, and underneath the prized SUV of this taxi company, underneath it, is a noise coming out from under there. And there's a bunch of breath, like that hot breath, steam coming out from underneath in certain spots. Something's moving around. And then a noise from the woods comes, like a coyote crying out in pain, right? And so for David, he gets really nervous about this and immediately books it for the SUV. He gets inside the SUV, locks the doors, and waits, right? So I go on and explain in the story that there's this beating and pounding on the sides of the windows and stuff like that, and that eventually David pulls his hat over his head, and his logic is that as a kid, the boogeyman couldn't get him when he was underneath his blanket, so hopefully whatever the hell was outside the vehicle couldn't get him either if his hat was down, right? So David is sitting in here, of course, is thumping and bumping against the car, because again, the feral human doesn't know what the hell door handles are. And so for David, the noise stops after a while, and he figures it's safe, and he pops open the door, and he says, if you're out there, oh, hey, if you're out there, hey, there's Alcide, pops up out of nowhere. If anybody wants to join the stream, ask any questions you like, it's StreamYard link is right in the description as well as in the chat right here. Feel free to hop on. It's a big story situation here with the Maine Taxi Guy. There's lots of them I wrote, and I just want to focus on them individually. But if you guys have any questions about any of them, then feel free to talk about them. But on Murder Mountain, at that point, he gets out. He asks, like, "Are you going to kill me?" There's no response, so he books it for the cabin that's been rented for him by the family he's been transporting. So when he's inside, of course, he's freaking out. He falls asleep against the door, and he wakes up to the ranger, the mountain ranger, coming to tell him, "Hey, there's been a bear sighting. So I want to let you guys know that we don't want anybody out at night. I see some cigarette butts, so I just want to let you know, hey, don't be going." And then David explains to her, "Hey, there's something underneath the vehicle." So what happens with this is, in Maine, you have, if you park a vehicle in a field, for instance, like a field bomber or some fun vehicle that you put away for the winter, but just kind of left out this season or whatever, odds are something is going to build a nest underneath it over the winter. The snow will build up around the floorboards, and it'll form a nice little cave that a raccoon or something like that can live in through the winter. It stores the heat inside for them because it's insulated with the metal and the car part on top, and the snow provides insulation. They can travel and whatever. It's a nice little raccoon pit or what have you, small animal. You're going to find a deer under a car, okay? Sorry, you're not going to find a deer under there. But, oh, hey, Jack Stafford's here. Welcome aboard. Just explaining Murder Mountain and the general effect of like what I was drawing from when I wrote this story up. But like in Maine, so like these little caves for animals will get formed underneath like cars out in the fields. So you leave your truck out there or whatever, or your show truck or mudding truck or whatever, because it's wintertime. You're not gonna take your mudding truck out, no mud. You got your four-wheeler and your sled. You're gonna go sledding. So what I drew from that was that the feral human went underneath David's SUV, right, and built a nest thinking it was there for the winter. Didn't understand why it was so close to the woods, so the feral human thought it was winter, and it went under there, and it made a nest out of mud and piss and shit underneath the SUV. And at the end of the story, David tells the people on 4chan that they had to get rid of the SUV because it stank so bad from that event. And again, this can happen to you too. You can end up with animals making nests underneath your vehicle. And of course, because other animals are there, they bring food in. So here come the mice. The mice don't want to get eaten by the larger predators, so they go up into the motors. So you'll end up turning on your air conditioner in your mudding truck around April, and all of a sudden a bunch of fucking rat skeletons and rat carcasses get launched out of the air vents at you, or clogged up in them if you've got those tiny little vent things. Yeah, it's pretty nutty, it's how they survive, though. It's how animals survive. What are you gonna do? But that was what I drew from with feral humans. Maybe you weren't here for it, Jack, but I'll show you guys again. The in Maine, again, it's 95% forest here, right? So like the opportunity for shit hiding in the woods is through the roof. So just take a look at this map, right? Here's the great state of Maine. Great state of Maine. So great. But you can see, like, well, look at all these places. Eagle Lake, Caribou, Washburn, Ashland, Holton, Monticello, Millinocket, Greenwood. They kind of don't occupy one really big space here, right, guys? There's like one space right here along the St. John that fuck nobody lives. We call that the Allagash. And that's where I think feral humans in Maine live. Because there's no like human activity there. There's no hunting there. If any, it's close to the like Greenville and Millinocket, within like 30 miles of the town or whatever. People don't stray too far from civilization. Because again, Maine's a rural state. When you get too far from civilization, you're way the fuck out there. So this is the Maine Allagash. And of course, right across the St. John right there is the fucking Montreal. But for some reason, our side is crazy feral human woods that regular people haven't even bothered mapping from the ground. The trees are so grown together there that there's no way to see the forest floor. It's just like an ancient forest. There's been absolutely no disruption to it. The parts away from the St. John. but there's been like no disruption toward like the center of this place. It's like this crazy, like you could have like forgotten Amazon tribes, just like Maine tribes, forgotten maniac tribes, out there, just wondering what all the metal fucking birds are going overhead. And they have no fucking clue what's going on. Because you look at all these lakes, there's plenty of stuff for them to live off of there. And that's my theory, is that that's where the feral humans live. That's where you're getting your Bigfoot sightings in Maine. It's just some feral dude. Yeah, exactly. There's a bunch of lakes, which means there'll be lots of food around there. There'll be berries, animals, fish themselves, algae, whatever you'd like. It's all going to be there. And of course, feral humans, they don't farm. So they're just, out there hunting and killing and, eating, fucking, and sleeping. It's crazy. So, but that's where I got the basis of the feral human that's on Murder Mountain. It's on Sugarloaf and eats coyotes and builds mud shit nests underneath it. Cadillac Escalades. What's the difference anymore? Might as well be a Chevy Escalade. But if you want to check out like these stories and stuff like that, they're over on YouTube. You search them, the Maine Taxi Driver stories. They have robot voices that read them out loud. Megusa is one of the people that reads them out loud. I like her readings of them because she kind of gets creeped out, and she's Scottish, which I think makes the whole stories much much more entertaining. But that's the story behind the weekend on Murder Mountain, right? But I'd like to remind you guys, though, that over on Indiegogo, the Colossals is still available and in demand. You can be backer number 89 today. The link is in the description and also in the chat. That's right. You can back it. Now, if you're turning in here for Maine Taxi Driver information and wondering why 17 minutes in we're talking about the Colossals, that's because I have a timer right here next to me that says, "Hey, stupid, talk about your book." So it just went off to remind me to talk about my book. So here I am. The Colossals is a story that's about superheroes that are based in Maine. They all live in Maine. They come and go from there, certainly. The stories aren't all based in Maine, but they live here. Delilah, the woman all the way over on the right here, we'll zoom down here to the second. We'll zoom right here. So Delilah, this lady all the way here over on the right, she's in Bangor, Maine, right? She's in Bangor, Maine. And she will be she's the one who handles like the bumps in the night that are bulletproof, right? She works with the Penobscot County Sheriff's Department, handling vampires, werewolves, ghouls, zombies, all the stuff that's oogity boogity in Maine, right? And at least in central Maine. And so Delilah is David is in Delilah's stories. David is an informant for Delilah. He just, again, David's cowardly. That's part of his attraction for people. People like a guy that's like, nah, I'm not here to fight evil. I'm not here to get pictures of Bigfoot. I'm just a guy that got paid $5 to drive out into the middle of the woods and drop somebody off. Fuck you, I'm out of here. That's these heroes, though. These ones are the ones that stay and fight evil. Of course, there's a bunch of crazy stuff in Maine going on as well. Like also on this channel, you could check out the Into the Ciderverse series I started last year. I'll be continuing that soon. There's many discs describing Project Katahdin and Katahdin's Shadow, which is military projects that take place inside of the Ciderverse with Star Supreme and other superheroes that you see in the Colossals. You can check out that over on right here on this channel. I'm sorry, I'm a little frazzled because I don't get to talk about the Maine Taxi Driver stuff too often, so I haven't really rehearsed it that well. It's actually kind of cool to be able to sit down and explain like where this stuff kind of came from, as opposed to just seeing how cool people think it is. Would you believe that people think I'm Stephen King? Me. I mean, you guys have listened to me. People, I'm Stephen King, but it's in the comments. It's flattering, but no. The other one that took people's imagination, I guess. Oh, what's this over here? Jack Stafford says, I love these kind of Art Bell kind of stories. Yeah, well, see, this is the kind of vibe I was trying to draw off of for the character David. Like he would be calling into a show trying to relate the story. And once again, I am being have haunted internet. See, I can see a little icon over here on StreamYard that shows me the internet strength symbol, and it's way down on one little dot. And it's very annoying. You gotta love Maine internet. See, all day it'll run fine, but as soon as I want to do something, it craps itself. Gotta love it. The basis of these was like David calling in somewhere to tell the story. The method I use is what I call shotgun storytelling, is that it just sentence, 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 sentence. It was meant to make sure that it sounded like someone was calling in or telling you the story as they were right across from you. It was meant to be this, a layman's explanation of what the hell was going on with his life. So, yeah, Art Bell's a good example, and that's really where I pulled a lot of stuff because I love Time Traveler Tuesday. Do you guys remember Time Traveler Tuesday on Coast to Coast AM? That was great for me. I'll tell you sometime the story that that really got me and still screws with me today. Really screws with me, but the man. Yeah, it's game over, man, game over. Yeah, well, that's kind of David's thing. He doesn't necessarily shriek in terror or whatever, but he just gets the fuck out of there. He's not getting paid to fight evil. He's not a Ghostbuster. He's not here to save the day or anything like that. He's just a dude. But another story that took the audience, by storm, I guess. They really liked the Skinwalker Reservation, and as I said, the Skinwalker Reservation. It's also like really, I don't know, popular. The Skinwalker is very popular in the cryptid community. Sorry, I'm not used to all these terminologies. I literally just had an idea after an idea, and I just wrote stuff down on 4chan for a couple of years. I didn't really try to tie it to too many like groups or anything like that. I just, oh hey, this stupid thing happened while I was driving. I wonder how spooky I can make it. So the Skinwalker Reservation was about David picking up a group of men from the airport who were headed out to a rural reservation, and they had brought with them a trunk, a strange trunk. And of course, they were very dismissive of his whiteness and his white culture, but they had regular names like Jeff, Rick, and Albert. They were very I forget exactly what I named them, but they were very normal sounding names. They weren't like, Sitting Wolf and Howling Eagle or anything like that. But they brought with them a trunk, and they went out to this very rural community. But on their way, David passed by a logging camp, right? A logging camp. And the loggers had been like really, really ravaging this space. They'd been really going to town on this patch of forest next to the reservation. And apparently these tribesmen who were flying in were not proud about it. And they were going to talk to the elders about maybe, I guess, buying land. I think that's what I wrote in there. So anyway, they get to the reservation, and David realizes that this is purely a Native American reservation. That this is, way back in the times. These are how these people live. They live a very rustic life. Limited electricity, water comes from a central point in the village. Small amount of people. Children are educated in survival before they're educated in the arts and violins and crap like that. They're taught how to skin first and hunt and stuff like that before ever learning what fucking jump rope is. And so David is immediately off his guard, and he's told by one of the guys that brings him in that he needs to stay in the cabin he's been assigned. He can't leave it. That'll upset the reservation. The rule is that he has to stay there throughout his duration there, because there's no other Escalade to take these guys in and out. So it's just David. It's just David. He's the only one that can transport him. So he's got to stay with them while they're here addressing the tribe about the loggers. Now, what actually happened here is that there was a logging dispute just outside of Bangor, Maine, and we were hired to bring some high-powered Native American lawyers in to, let the loggers know that if they wanted trouble, there could be more. Is my connection too weak here? I can't get it to stabilize. Is it too weak, guys? Can you tell me? Yeah, yeah. Time Traveler Tuesday, the guy that worked at Area 51. Yeah, good stuff. I'm sorry to interrupt the story, but I just can't get my internet stabilized. Is it coming through okay? I sound all right? Okay. It's just this damn icon keeps flashing at me. Um, so he's ordered to stay there and stuff like that. And then what actually happened was our company was hired to bring in some Native American lawyers to let this logging company know that they, getting too close to tribal lands and they needed to back off. They were going to interfere with water rights and interfere with hunting grounds and interfere with their ability to hunt by chasing off the animals in that immediate area, blah, blah, blah. So in the story that I wrote, David was in there, a thunderstorm happened, he saw some freaky things happen, and in the middle of the night, David is alerted to this loud crack of thunder outside, and he looks out the window, and there's this guy with his eyes rolled back into his head looking in the window at him, and he freaks the fuck out. He knows he can't leave the cabin because it's against the rules, but he knows whatever the hell is out there is also outside the cabin, so going out there means facing this guy, or whatever the hell that thing was in the window with his eyes rolled back. So David goes in and he sleeps in the bathtub. He sleeps in the bathtub all night long. And that didn't happen. There was no crazy thing that happened. Oh, James Hayes is here. James Hayes says, "Hello, Cider Hype, and everyone hanging around the chat. I hope you're doing good and feeling well today." Yeah, man. Just talking about a couple of Maine taxi driver stories. My internet's crappy, so you have to forgive me if I keep cutting out or blipping, roboting. I can't get it to stabilize. But so again, this isn't what happened in real life. What happened was the negotiations went fine. The loggers admitted that they had overstepped their boundaries and apologized. There was a fine paid to both the tribe and the state, and everything was over with. It took a weekend. Nobody really got their ass spanked. It was just one of those things that people do when they think they can get away with stuff. It's just how it happens. Really, this stupid StreamYard is like, oh no, your connection. So it's like beep boop, beep boop, beep booping me with this icon. God, it's so annoying. I imagine when you're watching this, it's even more annoying to hear me talk about it and you have no idea what I'm talking about. So the in the story with David, though, that there had been like some massive tribal meeting during the storm. He could smell the smoke in the air while he was sleeping in the bathtub and stuff. And then later on the next day, everybody's ready to go. The road's still kind of washed up. Sound fine on YouTube. All right, thanks. The road's kind of washed out, right? The road's kind of washed out. Mud's, building up around the tires of the Escalades, having a hard time keeping it on the road. The rain came really hard that night. Like kind of a flash flood situation, because we do get torrential rains here in Maine, right here, where the jet stream likes to puke out, every now and then one of those hurricane bands fucks our shit sideways. And I'm just going to ignore that icon. So I explained that David's having a hard time keeping the Escalade on the road, but he notices that the logging trailer, the home office where the loggers come and get their paychecks and park their trucks and stuff, has been knocked over and pushed down into the mud, or rather sank into the mud. And that there's a bloody handprint on the side of it and a bunch of like rips in the metal. And there's been like the trucks themselves are sunk into the mud sideways. The skidders are marked are turned over into the mud. It just looks like a general like horrible mudslide happened, which would make sense if you're clear cutting and pulling the roots up at the same time. So there's nothing to hold the soil when a heavy rain comes, because the soil hadn't settled from having those trees and roots ripped up out of it. So that's the logic I applied there, is that a miniature mudslide happened to these trucks. But I imply in the story that the Native Americans did some type of ritual during that thunderstorm that caused this torrential, horrible thing to happen, and that the loggers didn't survive it. Now, I note that when David is at the airport with these guys, returning them back home to wherever they came from, they're going to fly out from this airport. He says that the trunk itself that I mentioned earlier that they had when they arrived, he says that that trunk smells like the fire that they had at the reservation the night of the storm. And that's where I leave it. That's where I leave it. That's the Skinwalker Reservation, right? And again, none of that actually played out that way in real life. It much more boring. Just a regular old legal dispute between loggers who thought they'd get away with something without, being caught, and they did, and they had to pay a fine, and that was the end of it. No big horrible attack of the werewolves or anything like that. But that's what I applied in David's story, and people love that stuff. David also had a fiance, almost father-in-law. The stepfather of her fiance was a skinwalker that performed rituals down in the woods near their home, and that was one of the stories that I had wrote about. Is that in part of this compilation? Let me check, because it's Murder by Alien Orders, Demon Across Streets. No, that's not it. What about this one? That's just Murder Mountain. But David had a father-in-law while he was engaged, right? Yeah, right. Well, this is kind of sort of real, kind of not real. I'll play it by ear, right? Okay. I haven't got to the really good stories yet. These are just the ones that people talk about a lot. There's one of them that they actually found a cult related to it, and it's creeped me out ever since. But I'll get back to the father-in-law story, right? So the father-in-law story for David was he had a fiance, and they were kind of rocky at the time, but it was kind of cool. But as a rule, David doesn't stay in the woods after dark. It's a rule in Maine that you just don't stay in the woods after dark. Something's going to get you. Something doesn't want you there. Some people believe that Native American spirits chase the descendants of ancestors who caused trouble for them out of the forest at night. And if you stay, well, depending on what your ancestors did, you may not have a good camping trip in the woods, right? So that's the rule in Maine in real life, is you don't hang around in the woods at night. So unless you're planning on having a fight or a rave, they do that too. Crazy techno raves out in the middle of the woods. Blow your mind what's out in the fucking forest. But so what I wrote in this story was that there was this guy, and he was a bit of a drunkard, bit of a loose cannon guy, but he wanted to bring David into the family, initiate him. And so he'd gone off for days, and his wife, and of course the fiance that David was with, asked David to go into the woods and find him. He was probably down at his little camp, and he'd lost track of the time and been hunting and needed to come home, and it'd been a day. And so David goes down there, but he finds by the river clearing, there's a chopped off stump, and there are cleared off sheep heads. There's like skinned sheep heads. So right down to the skull, the eyeballs are still in the skull, blood's still on the skull and stuff. And they're all arranged on the stump, right? They're arranged in a circle on the stump. And the stump itself has the face of an eagle carved into it. And the roots are the wings reaching into the ground. And so this thing with the father-in-law was, I think, yeah, it was an eagle. I think it was an eagle. So anyway, is that it was a sheep farm nearby, regular old farm. So he had taken animals from here and done this stuff. So David's like, holy shit, what the hell is this? Of course, there's a fire smoldering there, kind of out, kind of on, but it's got these incense smells, and David's kind of feeling sick from how intense they are. So as he's inspecting the stump, David turns around and he sees him. He's standing right there, buck-ass fucking naked, blood dripping off of every inch of him, even that special place. And David's like, what the fuck, dude? And the father-in-law explains that if he's going to be part of the family, David has to accept the rite of passage. He has to become a skinwalker. He has to participate in the ritual of transformation, and that it's been prepared for him. And this whole thing has been between the mother, his fiance, and this father-in-law. This is the story. And David finally says, like, I guess not, man. I guess not. And he says, I knew you were too weak for my family anyway. And so they pack it up, and this guy goes some of the way back to the house with David. But David remarks that he can feel like his breath and his eyes on him the whole way. Like the forest itself was an extension of this father-in-law. Its future father-in-law would have been. And of course, the engagement, David's like, hey, your old man's gone fucked up. I'm out. Bye. See ya. See ya. And but that's where I leave that story. So in the reader's mind, that dude's just wandering around Maine somewhere, killing fucking sheep, trying to convert people to skinwalkers to join his family. So there's that. And like I said, all these stories are out on YouTube. You just punch them into the search bar, and you can get robots reading them out loud. People read them out loud themselves. Like I said, I recommended Megusa. Megusa does great readings of it. She gets creeped out by him while she's reading them, and she has a Scottish accent. It's great. It's great. The Maine Taxi Guy stuff here. Which screen am I sharing? Gosh, so many of them open. I need to get another monitor. Do you guys... I know that, like, Testify uses another monitor, and a couple of the other guys do, too. I guess I need to get into that. I got this old television over here that I guess I can hook up to be my streaming monitor, and then I can see everything and still type on YouTube and stuff, do all the necessary stuff. Thanks for bearing with me, guys, here. Just getting over to, yeah, all these channels over here. So, oh, Jack Stafford says, no Skinwalker initiations. Yipes. Megusa. Hold on here. Let me see if I can find it. Just a second here. Got so many fucking windows open. James Hayes, you're right. Yeah, I do. I do need to pimp my computer. Where in the hell? There it is. Maine Taxi Guy, Megusa. Right. Yeah, I'll get you her channel right here. We'll put her link to her channel. Right. Yeah. Check out Megusa's channel. She does these with a Scottish accent. She hasn't been posting in quite a while, I guess. Maybe there's something up with her channel. I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't really patrol too much the time frames of these other channels and stuff, how often they're active, what their drama is and stuff, what's going on with them. I just stop by and see what the comments are, who's suspecting I'm Stephen King now, that kind of stuff. And but yeah, as you can see, these guys. Oh, the fog parade. That's probably one that would be fun to hear about. Yeah. But by the way, this is Megusa. She has a Scottish accent, and she reads these stories and gets creeped out by them. So good stuff to listen to while you're like making dinner or whatever. Nice podcasty kind of atmosphere. So and a Scottish accent. So I mean, come on, what more can you ask for? Scottish girl reading creepypasta, match made in heaven. So anyway, fog people, right? The fog people. So here in Maine, it's you get a shit ton of fog all the time, especially when you live on the coast like I do. I live 6 miles from the coast, and sea fog rolls in. Okay, I can go outside right now, take a big breath in, right? Just saltwater fog. I am going to smell saltwater fog. 6 miles inland. It's just ridiculous how deep it goes. Thanks, I prefer Scots over robots. Well, hey, good taste, man of culture. So the fog people is based on the fact that when you're driving at night, your headlights will hit the fog, and of course, the fog has different densities in it, and sometimes that'll your brain will try to make the shape of a human in that, right? Because you look up at the clouds, your brain says, "Oh, that's an elephant. That's a bunny. That's a missile." I don't think that's a cloud. No, it's more like that in that you see what your brain kind of pictures in there. Makes a shape out of the formless thing. after a while, you get this sort of notion that when the fog is crossing a road, it kind of looks like people are walking across the road, right? So the fog parade is based on David being down in a place where this opulent community. And again, this is a new Escalade because the last one stank so bad from Murder Mountain. But again, he is paid to stay here for the weekend with these people so that they have transportation in and out of this gated beachside community. So David is at night out at the car having a smoke because he can't smoke in the B&B that he's in with the family, right? He's down in the finished basement area while they're up top having fun. So he doesn't smoke in there. He goes out to the Escalade where he can smoke. And he calls up one of his friends and complains to her that this is just stupid, and all they do is they just come up here and pretend to be Mainers and play around in our economy, drive the prices up, blah blah blah. Usual tourist complaints, right? Well, while that happens, David spots a light out over the water, and it's bobbing up and down like there's some horrible storm or something like that, and it's about to capsize or whatever. And this fog just starts rolling in as the light keeps getting closer to shore. I mean, dense pea soup fog. You can't see your hand beyond like its reach. When your arm's all the way out at the end of it, it's gone. It's gone, right? That's dense fog. It rolls up the shore. And David tells his friend, I don't know what's happening. Now, his friend, and I wrote in this story, is some type of like supernatural Wicca, kind of fascinated with the paranormal thing. And she's asking him questions like, what do you see? Is the orb of light moving on its own or what? And David describes it as bouncing up and down like it is a helm light on a ship. So, in the night, you have to have a light on your boat or you're going to be in trouble with the government. And so David gets out and he goes out to where the dock meets the land, the concrete barrier there that connects the dock to the land. And he goes out and he says, hey, you need to bring that in. It's getting a little rough for you, apparently. You all right out there? Do I need to call the Coast Guard? And he's shouting out to him. Of course, it's not that choppy. It's just foggy as fuck, right? And so he shouts that out there and he's like, hey, you need to bring it in. You're going to capsize. There's no response, right? But that light, it comes right up to the end of the dock. And it's like, it seems like it's connected to nothing for David. It's high up, like it's at the very tippy top of the helm of the boat. No, nothing there. But David then notices there's people walking along the dock toward him. But they're made out of fog. They seem happy, like they've finally gotten somewhere, like it was a victory for them. They're dancing as the fog continues to push up the dock, up the shores, closer and closer to David, right? And he's retreating because he doesn't understand what's going on. He's telling his friend, it's the fog people. There's people in the fog. What is this? And he gets inside and he gets inside the Escalade. If you follow the stories, the Escalade is David's safe space. It's like his safety blanket. As long as I'm in the Escalade, nothing can hurt me. Something like that. And it's a paranormal armored Escalade. I hope they do something stupid like that in the new Ghostbusters. That's as a joke, like somebody's made some anyway. The fog is rolling up on David, right? He's rolling up on him and he's in the SUV and he's asking his friends, what's happening? She says, oh, these are the fog people. And when the fog is thick, they manifest. It's the energy within the fog itself. All that latent energy and hydrogen hanging around there, the electrons beating around. The ghosts pull little itty bits of energy off of there is what she tells him, right? And they manifest themselves in the fog and they can see themselves and they dance and they rejoice in having a moment of physical presence again. And David's like, yeah, fuck that. And he goes inside and that's the end of the story. And that's that. So again, this really, you need a paranormal proof Escalade. Exactly. You ought to talk to GM about that. Government Motors. Talk to them about it. Maybe they'll make it a hybrid. That'll be very helpful. The ghosts zap the energy out of your hybrid battery so they can. Oh man, I love those ghost hunters shows. Half of them are, well, half of them, 90% of them are bullshit. But every now and then, something weird does happen. Do you guys have weird things happen to you like that? That's kind of what I base these stories off of, is just kind of the general creepy crap that goes on. That's the fog people, is just, driving around at night and your headlights hit some fog and it looks like people walking across the road. So you put your brakes on. There's nobody there. It's just your brain making a shape of a human because it's trying to make sense of whatever the hell it's looking at while your headlights are lighting up. And again, the fog gets pretty thick. So it's a big, heavy bank about 12 feet in front of you. And it looks like somebody's walking across there. Like lots of people are walking across there. So that's the fog people, the fog parade. And yeah, and Gravity PSI, he makes his own intros for these, right? Like I said, season 2, episode 4. Oh, you gotta love ads. This is what I get for using Bear YouTube. But he makes his own intros for these. That's not part of the intro. This is part of the intro. So, yeah, like this guy, he reads them out loud, by the way. He uses his own voice, reads them out loud. I highly recommend going over to Gravity PSI and subscribing, hitting like, checking out his season number 1 of Maine Taxi Guy. And now he's on to season number 2. He's, yeah. Hi, I'm Dave, the taxi guy. But, yeah, he makes some really cool intros for this. And head on over there and check him out, subscribe and maybe hit the bell. I don't know how often he uploads, but he also does other creepypastas and other copy pastas, other stupid, silly things. And, it's all good stuff, really. He's a good narrator. I really appreciate the work he puts in, and I'm really glad that his channel has, what is he up to now? What is he up to? Good gosh, he's up to 15,000 subscribers. Heavens to Betsy. This fella doesn't joke around. Holy crap. So, yeah, that's an awesome channel. Way to go, Gravity. Jeez. It's awesome. Oh, I'm matrixing. Uh-oh. All of these people and robots read your stories? Yes, they do. Out loud. Some of them read them out loud. Some of them use robots to read them. Like the auto reader. Just talking about the roots to the Maine Taxi Driver stuff and kind of where the story inspirations came from, and just general spooky stuff that fed into these stories. And now I'm talking about the channels that read them out loud. The link's in the description right here in the chat as well. Just a little bit up from Jack Stafford's comment. Come in and ask questions if you like. But yeah, Jack, these are all people who read the Maine Taxi Driver stories, either aloud or with a robo voice thing. Hold on, let me get back to the general search. But yeah, get rid of that relevance. But yeah, these are all Mr. Green texts. That fella's in Australia, and when I used NIGGA, he used the hard R. Okay, so I playfully used it, but that fella he goes full bore into into saying it. So he is Australian though. So if you'd prefer these stories instead of Scottishly, whatever. If you would prefer them with an Australian accent. Yep, Cider has a larger audience than Nasser and might be CG's most popular horror writer. I'm just a dude. James. No. I wrote these green texts. I stopped writing them in 2017. It's been a while. I don't, it's just the way it is. I put this kind of thinking, this kind of creepy stuff into the Colossals, though. It's in Hypercussion's story. It's in Delilah's story. Some of it bleeds over into Star Supreme's story. Like I said, guys, the Colossals is available on Indiegogo still right now in demand. If you're tuning in and wondering why you came here looking for Maine Taxi Driver stuff and there's these superheroes, That's because they are from the same mind. These stories will move through like kind of the Maine Taxi Driver sort of creativity, taking these sort of mundane events and blowing them up into these grand adventures, right? So, but these are the people who do confront the evil that David runs away from, right? They're Maine-based superheroes. They travel all over the world, though, but their homes are right here in Maine. Delilah's based in Bangor, even. Check it out on Indiegogo. Over in the chat, though, we have Wiggle Wiggle. Cat's out of the bag, huh? Yeah, well, I figured it was probably a good time to do it. There are a couple of channels that just started up doing it again, so now's the time, really. Halloween's over with, but it doesn't mean the spooky do has to go away. That's not till December. Then we have to get all friendly and Christmassy and stuff like that. I'm not a fan of turning the Christmas music on as soon as Halloween's over, personally. I like talking about creepy stuff right up until it's Christmas time, I just get in the mood around Halloween for some reason. But that's why I'm here talking about it now. I thought it'd be a good time. Channels are starting to post stuff about it again, so I figured, why not? Let's just enjoy letting the cat out of the bag, explaining to people where it all came from, how it all came to be. Okay, Wiggle. Well, I'm gonna keep talking for a little while here, much to the dismay of whoever's listening that doesn't want that to happen. But yeah, this is if you're available, feel free to come in a little while if I'm still on. If not, another time we'll make it happen. Absolutely. But if you're out there and you want to call in, ask some questions, feel free to. But Jack says, still haven't heard any audio problems. That's quite a compliment that so many people want to read your stories. Well, see, that's the Maine Taxi Driver thing, right? I never made it a point to take credit for them because it wasn't important to me to do that. Never has been. The only reason why I'm doing it now is because I'd like to be able to offer some light on this now that it's become such a sensation on YouTube. I wouldn't say like a PewDiePie sensation, but there's several channels here that are doing some pretty good numbers, just posting this stuff on and off, not dedicating their channels to it necessarily, but on and off posting this stuff. There's me right there. But Keck, he's been pretty on it. He just put out this one about the Pit on his channel. Damn these ads! Ah, man, I gotta get my ad blocker running again. But Keck, he doesn't go into any big special intro or whatever like that. He's cutting right into the meat of the story. He's got good creepy music in the background. The only drawback, in my opinion, is that he uses a robot voice. And that's okay, though. Some people don't want to read a story out loud like that or just feel like they might add something to it mistakenly, and they don't want to do that. They like it in its original form, so they feed it line for line or as a whole into a robo-reader. And it sounds okay. I mean, the robo-readers aren't like what they used to be way back in the day. They do have this inflection to them now, so they don't sound so gross. But this is what Keck does. He posts this stuff, and it gets, what's this one up to? Just a second here, let me check. This one's up to 5,479 views. Post back in September, though, so it's not crazy sensational stuff. Well, that's just it, is that my passion isn't in horror. My interest isn't in horror. I don't even really write horror. I write thrillers. I write suspense. I write things that don't really even have a satisfying ending, right? There's no sword through the monster's heart. There's no sunset. There's no guy on a horse riding away with a girl. There's no we'll meet again sort of thing. David's just like, fuck this. I got my money. I'm headed home. And then the next adventure begins with him being told by Central, get over there and get that thing. So that's why I liked when I set out doing comics initially. I was going to do Preston has his Lesbians and Planes one. I was going to do one similar to that, but it was set far in the future, but it was a sexless lesbian romance. That's all it was. Story about resurrection in the future, kind of looked like the Jetsons, playful thing. I moved on from that and built the COLOSSALS, and much more stable product in my opinion. and I like it a lot. But I could do a lot more with it too. I don't have to tell like grim, dark, scary stories all the time. I can tell a bunch of bright, fun stuff, and occasionally get into this Maine Taxi Driver thriller, horror, spooky stuff. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with what? I talked really fast because I'm from the north and we have to prepare for winter all the time. So we talk fast because we got to get chopping wood and insulating and building up cans of beans to survive the 8 months of winter we live here. We live through here. Let me know if I am talking too fast and I will do my best to slow down. Again, up here in the north, we talk fast because winter is always coming. But yeah. If you're just tuning in, I am the Maine Taxi Driver, Cider Hype, Thomas Burpee. You'll find me over on Indiegogo with the Colossals. And Jack Stafford says, I dig that David is like, nope, I'm out, homies. Very relatable. Well, that's what I thought. I was like, I don't do well with trying to write horror where there's a victory because I can't imagine a horror where there is. I don't. Slasher movies are funny to me. I laugh at slasher movies. They're not scary. They got jump scares, sure, but like Jack in the Box will jump you occasionally if you're, especially if you eat the tacos. But thank you. I appreciate that. If anybody else feels that way, though, please let me know. I don't. I'm just from the north, and we talk fast, especially when we're excited. But yeah, David was very much like my attempt to be like, okay, how do I turn horror on its head? Well, okay, so don't stand and fight. Don't get engaged with the monster. If the monster's eating somebody else, you get away nice and quietly. Sorry, that was the thing with David, is that he just didn't want to fuck with stuff that could scare him. I just didn't want to do it. So the pit, though, I used to live at a lake house in this area, right? I used to have a lake house, and it was before I got sick and stuff, but it was a great place, really calm, really quiet. Renovated it a few times to make sure that it was like really ready for winter and stuff. Put a really big furnace in it, like way too big for the space. So like the furnace would just kick on and heat the space and then shut off. It's pretty nice. It's pretty nice in February to be walking around in swim trunks. It's too hot in your house, but you don't hear that too often up here. But on the other side of the mountain that this lake was, right? Because like lakes in Maine aren't just like flattened and holes in the ground. There's like mountains that form a sort of bowl around them, and then there is that little dent in the ground. But on the other side of the mountain ridge, there was a gravel pit, right? And so for David, that gravel pit had scary noises coming out of it and stuff like that. And he had heard a baby one night crying out there and had called the police. Now, this really happened to me, right? This actually fucking happened to me. And you can hear I'm fucking freaked out talking about it. I was playing Skyrim in the living room of my lake house, had the windows open. It was like October-ish, beginning of October. It's just letting the nice, cool fall breeze come through, air out the lake house, got the back window open on the back door so that way the breeze can flow through like a wind tunnel. Really nice. And I'm like at a loading screen, I'm taking a drink, and like everything's fine. Skyrim, 14 hours a day, that kind of guy. So I hear a baby crying, and I'm like, is it in the game? Because I'm not wearing headphones. I got my fucking television blaring Skyrim at me, it's just me. There's nobody else in this fucking place to give me shit about it. So like, is that in the fucking game? So I get up, I get close to the television. I'm like, no, there's no fucking baby crying at Skyrim. The fuck? So I start looking around like, well, maybe my phone just fucking turned on and played some YouTube video. I sat on it or something. Nope, my phone's on the wireless charger on the counter. So I don't know what the fuck is going on. I go around to the back door that's like straight facing the wood line. Like the wood line's like 6 fucking feet from my door. You open the door, step off of the fucking porch, and you are in the fucking woods. So, the lake house. And so I go to that door and I can hear a baby crying in the woods. Me, real life Cider, not David, me. I can hear like this echo of a baby crying from like just up higher up on a ridge, like I don't know, maybe like 70, 80 feet back up the mountain. Not like this sheer cliff, mind you, but like this incline up the mountain. And on the other side, of course, is this gravel pit. So what the fuck is a baby doing in the middle of the night in October out in the woods? In the dark, no less. So I get a fucking baseball bat, dude. I don't know what the fuck is out there. Because like coyotes make noises like that. Foxes make noises like that, you know? I don't know what the fuck is out there, right? So I go out there with my fucking baseball bat and my big metal police issue mag light. I'm meaning business. I got my aluminum bat. I got my mag light. Somebody's getting fucked up. And I start up the mountain a little bit, and the crying continues, and it's like echoing through the trees, right? So it's just kind of filling the fucking area as I keep going up the side of the mountain. And there's no light, there's no nothing. I'm just moving the light around, trying to moving my mag light around. It's a big old fucking spotlight, fucking son of a bitch police issue thing. And I'm just waving it back around, trying to find where the fuck is this coming from? Is it a boombox? Did some jackass bring a fucking baby monitor out in the woods and jack it up? Where the fuck is it coming from? And I don't find it. I don't fucking find it. I'm out there for like a fucking half an hour, 45 minutes, just like an asshole. Hello, you out there? If your baby's hurt, let me know. I've got my phone. We can call for help. What's wrong? And there's nothing. There's nothing. So I go back to the lake house, right? Go back to my lake house, and I'm sitting on the step, and I keep hearing the noise from the woods. I don't know what the fuck it means. It's not like rhythmic where it's on a loop or anything like that. And it changes. It's like these little blats and then a long blat and then like a wham, my panties are wet, wham, that sort of thing. And it's like a little baby, like a little infant 1-year-old, just big enough to make a noise, big enough to make that help me, I need help noise. Help me, I'm hungry noise, So I call the fucking state police. I literally call the state police because the sheriff's department won't come out that late, believe it or not. So I call this fucking state police. 2 troopers show up, with 3 of us go in. We go through the fucking woods for an hour. Nothing, but they can hear it too. And there's nothing. They rule it to being a fucking fox that's just trying to hunt something, and we kept interrupting it. So it had to go back and make its noises again to keep hunting, and that was what they ruled it to be. But to this day, I swear to God, there was a fucking baby out in the middle of the goddamn woods, and you just couldn't. Maybe it was up in a fucking tree. I don't know. There's weird-ass fucking hippies building tree houses and shit. Who fuck knows? Who the fuck knows? Jack Stafford says, no. Oh, hell no. Screaming babies. Fuck, that's freaky. James says, sounds like an advertisement for gun ownership. Yeah, it is. Zombie movies scare me. And not because of like the weird gore stuff, because that's like in everything now. Zombie movies legitimately scare me because I pride myself on independent thought. I think free will is a beautiful thing, no matter how people use it. Sometimes horrible things happen. Horrible, awful tragedies happen. But I think free will is beautiful. Even when those terrible things happen, I'm thankful that we have the capacity to do those horrible things and not just be automatons. And a zombie is just a feeding frenzy, brainless machine. And that it terrifies me. It's the same reason why the Cybermen in Doctor Who do terrify me. The Daleks are just assholes, right? But the Cybermen are people that had their humanity robbed and were forced to take part in a hive mind. That's the horror of it for me. Like when Romero did Night of the Living Dead, my mother's a huge fan of that. Watches it every Halloween. Huge fan of that black and white version, the original, where they didn't show you the guts and gore going places. Your imagination went places. And that's for me, like when I'm watching a zombie movie, I'm like trying to think of like, God, how terrifying would it be if you're like coming home from the grocery store and like your wife's a zombie? Everything you love about her is gone. Every cherished memory, if you were high school sweethearts, that's gone. That's gone forever. It's gone forever. What made her beautiful, the smile, is gone forever. The light in her eyes is gone forever. And she's just an eating machine that's hell-bent to nom, nom, nom on your throat. and you have a choice to make. You either kill both of yourselves, right? In Minecraft, YouTube, in Minecraft, or 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 you take her out, and you have to live for the rest of however long your life is with. That's what you did. That was a monster, but it wore the face of the person you love. I just can't. That scares the fuck out of me. Zombie apocalypse movies scare the shit out of me because of the stuff that doesn't fucking happen on screen. That's what gets me. My fucking imagination starts coming up with all this goddamn shit while everybody else is like, whoa, cool, they're doing jump ropes with the guts. It's just not. That's the one that scares me. Of course, I was the 6-year-old when Jurassic Park came out, right? Like the first one with the animatronics. I was laughing my ass off when the Tyrannosaurus Rex ate that guy off of the porta potty, right? Everybody else is screaming bloody murder as like the blood's going everywhere as this guy's like bit in half while he's taking a shit. And I'm laughing my ass off because again, like my brain is thinking that he's like made out of he's filled full of toothpaste, so it's just the toothpaste squirting out of the bag of him. Because I just my brain goes other places. That's what scares me though, are zombie movies. I don't usually get bothered by most of the other stuff because again, the gore just doesn't scare me. It's gross. It's just that's it. Yeah, feral hippie baby in the trees, right? Watch yourself. I was asked the other day if there are sloths in Maine, and now I'm starting to wonder. Now I'm starting to wonder if there are sloths in Maine. But instead of sloths, they're just hippie babies that, fling themselves from tree to tree, like chimpanzees. Feral hippie babies. James Hayes says, "We are the Borg, prepared to be assimilated. Resistance is futile." But again, the Borg can still communicate, you're right? Still communicate. Cybermen, they really can't. They're all kind of stuck, right? Borg have a purpose. They're kind of like purpose built. You remember Seven of Nine and the rest of those kids, they had like a physical purpose building to them. But a zombie, it's just a monster that eats you, dude. It's your wife, it's your cousin, it's your mom, it's your sister, but they're gone. All that's left is the physicality and this ravenous hunger for human flesh. And they don't talk. It's just this roaring, feral cry for blood. And that's what scares me about zombie movies, is just the loss of humanity, the destruction of humanity. The actual human itself, not the like civilization. That can go anytime. Believe me, I'm not the only one that thinks that. James Hayes says, best Trek villains ever. Well, you haven't seen New Trek. You guys seen that yet? Yeah. Yeah, the Romulans. The Romulans made the Borg. Yeah, the Romulans. Let that sink in. The fucking Romulans. You bet. James Hayes says, for me, it is the Exorcist type movies. That can't be disproven. Oh, the types of movies that can't be disproven. Agree that slashers are so over the top that they're funny. Well, at least like didn't Jason like come out of a lake once with like an overdone chainsaw that had like huge exhaust pipes on it, like a motorcycle and stuff, and it was all chromed out. Didn't that happen? I remember they took Jason, or who did they take to space? Was it Jason or Mike Myers? Which one of them ended up in space? I forget. I think it was Jason. It was Jason X, right? Yeah. Again, like the gore is just kind of gross. That's all it really does for me. It doesn't scare me. So, slasher stuff. The Exorcist got to you. Yeah. Demons and stuff. I don't go anywhere near Ouija boards. I really don't. I believe in that hype that once you touch those fucking things, you're linked, you're cursed. That's you forever, Ugh. So, by the way, you can't say Ouija board. You could say summoning board, but Ouija board is actually trademarked by Hasbro. And if you don't know, Hasbro's involved in critical race theory. That's right. Yeah. And I could get into a Power Rangers discussion about that, but that's not what this stream is about. Thank God. Right, everybody? Thank God. Hit like and subscribe if you're relieved that it's not a Power Rangers stream. But Yeah, so David, had a similar experience hearing the baby and stuff like that, but then he heard screaming in this pit, right? And that's what this story goes on about, is that he ends up involving the pit owner, who they go in down in there and they find this puddle. He says he doesn't know where it goes. It's like some spring, and every now and then when the water fills up in the base of the gravel pit, it just starts kind of gurgling and draining down in there. He thinks it leads to some aquifer underground, and they just let it go until it starts to get too big. Then they'll have to shut the pit down. This happens every now and now and then in Maine, is that you'll, as you're doing your gravel pit digging, you'll run into a vein of water or whatever, and it sort of will act like a hollow drain down into the earth. But it's just full of fucking mud and soot and little tiny rocks and shit, not goblins and mole men. Yes, Jack Stafford, agree. No Ouija boards. Had one bad experience. Yeah, yeah. Well, it's people can go back and forth about whether or not this spooky dookie is real, but I live in Maine, and it's spooky dookie central here. Spooky dookie central. James Hayes says Ouija boards. I have an issue believing them because they require multiple people, and someone always cheats. Yeah, yeah. I could get it. Yeah. Well, one of the girls I dated in high school, she used one of these at her house, right? And this is me. This is not David. This is really, Thomas Burpee cider, real life. I do believe in some of it. Like, I don't go crazy thinking you can be possessed and stuff like that. I don't believe in that stuff. But there's got to be something that's got stuck, right? It's just a law of averages. When you think about nature itself, there's always something out of place. So Ouija boards, this girl I was dating in high school, she used one. I wasn't there, but when I first went over to her house to make dinner for the first time, because that's what I did in high school, is that when it was time to like go on the date to make dinner or whatever, I would go over to her house and I would make dinner for her family. So that included dessert. Yes, I cook. Anyway, um, so I went into the place and like immediately it just kind of like you have this energy of stink. You know when you're in a Walmart bathroom and like your body can sense the gross and the stench of the place. It's not just your nose and your lungs and this weird fucking bleachy urine taste you get on your mouth if you breathe too hard while you're in there. It's it's like this actual feeling in your body of dirty, of gross, of slime. And I went into there and I was like, wow, why is this place just so gross feeling? God. And while I was there, the night that after dinner, we were in her little piano playing room and she was just kind of pressing keys and stuff like that. And I was sitting off to the side talking to her about school and whatnot. And my back started burning right underneath my neck. Like when when you get too close to the burner of the stove or the pan or whatever, and like you haven't touched it, but that residual heat kind of comes across and starts drying the flesh of your hand and stuff. It starts getting too hot against you, and all of a sudden it just cut off. It was just this really intense heat, like I was too close to something, and as soon as I stood up, it cut off. But on my back, right beneath my neck, there's these three scratch marks just almost vertically running down my neck. They only kind of trail off to the right at the very bottom. And they just go straight down and kind of curve off a little bit, just out of fucking nowhere. And of course, they're all freaking out. I'm freaking out. I don't know what the hell this is all about. There's no blood. It's just kind of these welts on the back of my neck. And I don't go back to that house. I never went back to that place again. I found out that she used a Ouija board and I said, okay, well, that explains the scratches. So no, you're coming over to my house for dinner from now on. I'm sorry. I'll meet you in the fucking driveway. I'm not going inside this place. Whatever the fuck lives at your house doesn't like me, and it's not your dad. But yeah, that's happened to me, man. I've encountered spooky, weird fucking shit since I was a little kid, man. It's everywhere. It's all over the place in Maine. Every fucking house in Maine is haunted. Even the brand new one. Somebody dies during construction and haunts the fucking place. James Hayes, Jack Stafford's talking to James Hayes. Agreed, but we couldn't figure out the table thing. Only had three experiences in life I couldn't explain, and was one of them. Yo, Grove Street for life. Yeah, mainstreaming. Yeah, I was just talking about some of my own personal freaky experiences, Matt. Throughout this stream, though, we've talked about some of the roots of the Maine Taxi Driver stories, particularly Murder Mountain, the Skinwalker, and now the Pit. I've explained the Pit here. Fog Parade was also one of them as well. If you want to watch back a little later on, but yeah, so that I have actual reasons why I don't fuck with Ouija boards, and that's one of them. I just don't. I don't even date people who do that. It's one of my dating questions. In fact, when I'm out on a first date, we're out to dinner and I'll bring up like spooky do and crazy stuff. What did you wear for Halloween? That sort of thing. What are you planning to wear for Halloween and for how long? But I'll ask, like, hey, have you ever used a Ouija board before? And if they say yes, I don't make a big deal. I just make a note that, okay, well, after dinner, I'm not calling you again. And that's what I do. I do not want to bring that shit in my life. You are marked forever when you use a Ouija board. If you're just in the room, that's fine. But you lay hands on that fucker, you are marked. I absolutely believe that. 1000%. And it freaks me the fuck out every time I go into Toys R Us and see that shit at kid height. But that's just me. And I'm crazy. I live in Maine. Seconded. Yeah, well, thank you. There's stuff out there we just can't explain, and most of it's in Maine. Most of it's in Maine. Like, into the Ciderverse, Tales from the Ciderverse is the actual term of it. It's Tales from the Ciderverse right here on this channel. I discuss Katahdin Mountain and the mysteries surrounding it. And in there, I reveal that there's a supermassive spaceship. And I discuss, like how the drilling team is coming across stuff. I treat it like a military log, right? But here in Maine, though, we do have like creepy, weird shit happening all the time. So people are dying a lot here in Maine. Okay, it's not from COVID or whatever. Or, sorry, YouTube, the cough. It is actually just from old age. We have the oldest population in the United States. Average age here is 48 for women, 52 for men. Lots and lots of old people here coming up on retirement age, right? So, of course, it's boomer haven too. So everybody that's checking out wants to come to Maine, spend their last few days, few years staring into the woods and staring into the trees, walking around with sandals and socks on. I'm upstate New York right now. It's like Maine, but with self-esteem. Yeah, you were here. Yeah, you were here. And what a horrible state. Yeah, well, it's spooky. Left, right, up and down, and in between, man. Left, right, up and down, in between. Yeah, well, it's a place to like, good place to visit, but man, the economy sucks here. That's for sure. But lots of weird shit happens in Maine. So people die a lot and stuff like that, and like their houses will end up abandoned for a little while. We have a problem with people just breaking into houses and taking them over. It's known as squatting, right? Well, sometimes you get to squatting in somebody's house and then, you drink too hard or whatever, and then a demolition company stops by. So in the middle of you or, being drunk, passed out on the floor of this abandoned house you're living in, a wall comes crashing down on you. And yeah, they demolished the house, I think like 2 years ago or something like that. And like 4 people died. They were inside and like they were just drunk, high, sleeping, didn't hear the fucking truck come, and there it is. Excavator arm came through to bring down the second floor and splat. That was the end of them. Why did you check the building? It's got the big old condemned sign on it. It's leaned over. Its windows are smashed out of it. Why the fuck would you check it? Of course it's fucking abandoned. It was abandoned when you came here earlier, when those people ran away when you showed up, right? You didn't know they were there because they ran out the back when you pulled up front. They know the gig. Little did they know you were with a demolition company, and bang, bang went their house. The squatter house. But yeah, it's really creepy to drive around sometimes out in the country because like you'll see these places and then they'll be gone. They'll just be grass fields with like a carriage garage hanging out there. Like once a very long time ago, there was a 3-story house, but now there's just a fucking garage hanging out all by itself for no reason at all. And the driveway's grown over. So it's just a garage out in the middle of the field. No driveway leading to it, no house next to it, just fucking garage, just hanging out there. Like, what's up? Jack Stafford says, my belief in aliens somewhere in the universe, 100%. My belief aliens have visited Earth, 1%. Oh, wow. Let's see. Do I have the energy to get into that discussion tonight? Ooh, I don't know, man. I don't know. Who wants to talk aliens, right? Anybody want to talk aliens? Jack probably does. Anybody else want to talk aliens? Because aliens in Maine, no. We get them certainly, like everywhere else. Though it's nothing special. They don't land here and order lobster or anything. Well, that I know of, anyway. But um, yeah, right? Like the aliens. These goddamn tiny little fucking pictures on the internet. I will find the people who made these tiny pictures. I will find them. So, aliens, right, guys? Aliens. Aliens are connected to those Ouija boards. Of course they are. All evil in the universe is in your Toys R Us Ouija boards. Because aliens are evil, right? Aliens are totally evil. Alien story. I don't have an alien story, right? I didn't run into any aliens. I told a story with David though about a blue flying triangle, kind of like buzzing him while he was taking a guy to work one day, special needs person to work one day, and that's it. I myself have seen the blue triangle fly over a lake I near. Well, the lake house. I was at the lake house and I saw the blue triangle, and then I grew up near this lake and I've seen the blue triangle before. It just flies over the lake occasionally, not into it, not out of it. Just comes down close to the lake and just keeps on fucking cruising, picks up at the tree line so it doesn't crash into anything, keeps on going. There's no, it's just a blue triangle. It's just a blue triangle. Um, that's what I got. I have no idea. This is all before I met Testify. The flying blue triangle. You can ask Mainers about it. The central Maine area here on the mid coast. There's a bunch of people that have seen the blue triangle fly in and out of here. And that's what it is. It's just a glowing blue triangle. It's not like an arrow or anything like that. It's just a very clearly shaped blue glowing triangle, and away it goes. James Hayes says, it depends on how we define aliens. For example, many scientists theorize that the octopus is actually the product of evolution on an alien world carried to Earth as eggs on frozen asteroids. It's very possible. That's why they're still trying to figure out if they can walk on land or not, right? You've seen those videos of the octopus jumping up on land to chase a crab. That was pretty interesting, right? But to this point, Jack, that you made about aliens, since we're already into it, Jack, this is a weird thing, and it's just me being up in Maine. But I think we're at the beginning of the universe. A lot of scientists argue otherwise, and I'm not a scientist. I'm not at all. I'm just a guy that sits around and thinks about stuff. That's what I do. I'm a writer. I want to get paid to sit around, think about stuff, and then write it down. Right? I don't know. But my belief on the aliens thing is that they have come here because there's only 2 other sentient species out there in the universe. Now, if you really think about it, right? Really, really, really think about it. What have we witnessed in these flying vehicles that come to Earth? They're very similar to 2 different types. You got your energy orbs that make a formation, your energy circles, and then you've got your geometric shapes, like your discs, your flying pie pans, and stuff like that. You've got that's it. So imagine that we're the only other sentient species in the known universe, right? Imagine that. And I know that sounds kind of funny, stupid, but let me show you something, right? Let me show you something. This is called the Laniakea Supercluster Radiation Map. Now, this was done by a satellite that was recently released from Earth here that studies the radiation, background radiation around us. As you can see, we're way down in the willy wax, way away from that nice, big, strong stem there. You know, this big, strong spine, and this thing kind of pours out like a leaf, right? And it's a radiation map, right? So this isn't glowing light out in space. This is just a radiation map. We can't tell if that is a series of suns, or if that's a series of black holes, or if that's a series of minor stellar collisions, nebulae, whatever this radiation is, though. That's what we're looking at right here. This is the Laniakea supercluster. But look at this. Just take a long minute and look at this. There aren't irregularities here. There's no spot that's kind of like blanked out, right? There's no spot that's like really wonky, not in place, right? There's no spot that's way overgrown in an unnatural way. Because like you see where these bright spots are, that's where these splits are happening. So whatever this radiation's doing, it either slows down or it gathers there before it splits off, right? So what that means to me is that there's no evidence of space war. And you would think if there were more than two spacefaring species, eventually somebody's going to want to fuck up somebody else, right? And I'll remind you, this is our galaxy all the way over here. That's the size of the map you're looking for. That's not Earth. That's Milky Way, our galaxy, right? All the way out, away from all the good fun stuff. But look at it. It's relatively undisturbed. So there's no evidence of an explosion, these super weapons in space meant to wipe out gigantic fleets of other spaceships. There's no like big black spots on here where like a black hole bomb was detonated that sucked up the stars, radiation, and all the things that were ever and ever could be into it, you know? And that's why I think there's only two other sentient species visiting us. And as in on top of that, I believe that they're visiting us because of the way time dilation works. I believe they're visiting us across many, many millions of years. So the time it takes them to get back and forth from wherever the fuck they come from to get to us, millions of years of like evolution and technology have gone by. So the ships are constantly changing. That's why the Roswell style ship doesn't show up anymore. Instead, we have all of these amazing maneuverable like liquid metal things that outrun our jets effortlessly, right? And then you have the energy orbs, right? And that means there's two different species, in my opinion. And I think the energy orb ones, right? The lights in the sky that take a formation and then zip zoom off into space, right? And their energy, or they have like, you know, lightning traveling between them, arcing between electricity. Those ones are the ones that are the closest to transcending into the fifth dimension. They're going to leave the physical state, and they're coming to check on us to see how far we are in the progression of entering the cosmic realm. And I think that's it. And now the other ones are coming and checking on us for the same reason, to find out if they'll be the sole power in the universe until we get there. Because like I said, I honestly believe there's only 3 sentient species in the universe as we know it. And it's us. We're the little brother. The big brother's about to leave our stage of reality, which is why their ships look so different and don't obey physics whatsoever. And the middle brother still has to travel in something reminiscent of a shielded, armored vehicle. So that's my theory on the aliens. I think they come here to check on us because there's nobody else to talk to. Because I can't think of another reason to come all the way the fuck out there. Because again, that's the Milky Way. And then we're all the way out on the very edge of that motherfucker of the Milky Way. So we're not even in the fun part, the fun, bright part of the Milky Way. We're way out on the fucking final ring of that bitch where nothing happens. We just get to see other shit happen every now and then. Way to fuck away. And so you see that that's the Milky Way, the galaxy itself on this. And this is why it tells why I believe that there's only 3 sentient species and we're one of them. Because why would you travel all the way out here to this weird bodunk end of the line galaxy where all this cool shit's happening way before us? The only thing I can think of is that we're the only other sentient species in the known universe. I say sentient because you probably find bugs anywhere. You can find fish anywhere. But things that use tools and have languages and stuff like that, I don't know. The blue triangle comes into your home and screams at you. Not yet. Not yet. But what was that? Was that the Encounters of the Fourth Kind? Wasn't that horror movie about demon aliens or whatever? That one was pretty scary. That was pretty good. But it was also jump scary. Jack Stafford says, I love UFO stories. Just think they are hopefully top secret government shit. Well, again, I mean, like, think about this. We could talk about that Time Traveler Tuesday thing here. I'll get through the comments, though. Listen to that theory, different from getting a saucer and flying here on purpose. Yeah. The Boits void? Is that what that is? The Boots voice? Void? Yeah, that's true. There's the Boots void out there. That's true. The Boots void. But that could be a supermassive object between us and there that just doesn't get light as well. We don't know exactly what that is. It could be a black hole, too. That's the other thing. Jack Stafford says, didn't Babylon 5 have a similar concept of races evolving into becoming a god, like on another plane? No, that was Star Trek, I believe, with the Qs. The Qs were fifth dimensional creatures, and this guy, this single Q, wanted to fuck with Picard because the script said so. But yeah, that again, that's my theory, is that the ones you see with the energy orbs, those are the ones that are closest to departing from the physical reality. They're transitioning into a purely conscious-made creature, a creature of pure consciousness, experiences time and space in a fluid manner rather than singularly, the way we do. Yeah, the Milky Way is the main of space. Yeah, well, I'm sure if we twisted this map enough, it would look like that. But it is. We are the bodunk end of the line in every regard, in our own galaxy and then also in this fucking super map, right? What you're looking at, though, is the Atlantia super radiation map, if you're just tuning in. And this is our perceivable universe. And I'll remind you, you're looking at Milky Way over there, not Earth. Right? So, but again, I mean, like what you were talking about. I hope they were on our side. Government shit. Yeah, Jack Stafford. Let me ask you. Okay, so that Time Traveler Tuesday thing happened. Did you hear the one about the guy that had? He called in. He was like from a future where aliens came and turned the Earth into a big old farm. Did you ever hear that one? Coast to Coast. That's Time Traveler Tuesday. I'm just trying to find a good picture to have in the background so that way people who are just kind of skimming through sort of get an idea of what we're talking about here, and they don't have to be like, wait, what the fuck? I tuned in for Maine Taxi Guy. What the hell is this shit? So, Cortez, Babylon 5, Milky Way of Maine. Oh, he says, Jack Stafford says, I think the Vorlons were the big brother about to evolve, and then there were the angels and the shadows. Oh, yeah. Okay, Jack had never heard it, but aliens are already here. Yeah, well, it would explain where I come from, right? Would explain where I come from. But no, okay, so this one fucks with me, all right? This fucks with me to this day. if you're tuning into this show right now and you don't know why the hell we're talking about Time Traveler Tuesday on a Maine Taxi Driver stream, sorry, General Spooky Doo, got it. It's just in my system. Sorry. So they've infiltrated every government. Yeah, well, you saw that one guy in the video, right, where he has like the lizard face that goes all wonky weird for a second there. Yeah, it was weird. But so Time Traveler Tuesday was an event on the Coast to Coast AM radio show. Of course, available on your AM radio or FM station if your FM local provider didn't have any overnight programming. So in Maine, at around 2 o'clock in the morning, 1:30 in the morning, here comes Art Bell talking to us about all the crazy shit in the world that happened today. But Time Traveler Tuesday was special in that he invited people to call in and invited people who were time travelers to call in and explain themselves. And he would say, like, this is Time Traveler Tuesday. Everybody out there who has a time traveler story to tell us, or if you, in fact, yourself are a time traveler, we encourage you now to call the number in the hotline and let us know what we need to know about the future. If you have the winning lottery numbers, we would like those first, and we're happy to hear about the aliens afterwards, okay? But please, if you are a time traveler, feel free to call in. That was Art's thing. It was great. One time, though, it was 1997. This fucks me up to this day. This guy calls in to Time Traveler Tuesday, and he's talking with Art, and he stops him, and he says, all right, I'm having a hard time understanding you, sir. And Art says, oh, I'm sorry. Is my language too basic for you? And he says, no, it's too complex. In the future that I come from, we speak in abbreviations. So I have to think of what you're saying in long form, and then I have to shrink it down into how I understand it where I come from. Because in where I come from, we don't use long form words. We have abbreviations for everything. And I sat up and paid attention to that. That stood out to me pretty fast on that one. Think about it. Well, I'll pause the story right here and ask you, think about that right now. LOL, BRB, RN, FWN, no, TFW, yeah, TFW, my MFW, my face when, that sort of thing. If you think about that, it's like, and now we're using emojis to communicate with each other rather than words, right? Just a fucking big long line of emojis is supposed to make sense, like some goddamn hieroglyphics. Hieroglyphics. But so this guy goes on though, and he explains, Art, I'm able to contact you because I built a machine using some stupid bullshit. I don't remember that part because that wasn't interesting to me. What he explained though is that aliens arrived on Earth and they didn't blow shit up. They didn't put collars around our necks or anything. They just said, you guys have a really arable planet. You can grow tons of shit here. So you're part of our empire now. Here's the rules. Not too much is going to change, but most of your planet is going to be farmland. And I was like, son of a bitch. That is like the most logical thing an intergalactic empire would do with a backwoods world like ours. We're not going to dig fucking diamonds. They got robots for that. Think about it. What the fuck are they? What is this squishy ass human that's allergic to radiation? What the hell are we going to be good for out in fucking space? But farmers. Now that's a different story. Growing fruit and hopefully other meat for the greater alien empire that comes to take us over. And I was like, son of a bitch, that's clever. Never would have considered that to be an outcome. Because like everything we saw as an alien invasion would be this horrible totalitarian hellscape. Everything got blown up, grinded up, there'd be nothing left of us. Whereas this guy was like, no, we're just a bunch of farmers. Like everybody works in agriculture from one end to the other. We're all farmers here. Our whole lives are dedicated to growing food for the empire. Jack Stafford says east of the Rockies. Did you ever get through to Art Bell? I think I did once, very briefly. I don't think I was old enough to call in. He was. I heard all of these in syndication, right? So when I say 1997, and when I heard this, I sat up. I mean when I'm listening to it on YouTube. I was too young to hear this. I think I caught the very end of like the live Art Bell stuff. Um, as far as I know, he's off the air these days. Has been for quite a while. Not dead, to my knowledge, but I know I never got through to him. But I hope you. What'd you talk about, man? What'd you talk about with Art? Was he? Were you a time traveler, Jack? Are you a time traveler? How come you're late to our streams if you're a time traveler, dude? Come on, jeez. Jabba says it's just me and Jack Stafford in here, and the other 4 people are watching are aliens. Well, I'm glad they find everything interesting, right? Who wouldn't be excited about hearing about Maine, especially when you're an alien? It's a cool place to come hang out. We got movie stars that come up here to hang out, man. We just treat them like regular people. John Travolta lands his DC-9 up in Bangor and drives down to Islesboro. It's an island not too far from me. Gets on a ferry and he goes over to the island itself. But he stops at the grocery store that's less than like 700 feet from my house and gets a sandwich and a soda for the ride down. His driver meets him on the tarmac, and he just goes over to the island and chills out. But people at the store, they're just like, "Oh, hey, John, back in town." Yeah, it's back in town. Just here for the weekend. What's up? How's the weather look? You might want to make sure the furnace is running hot. It's going to be a cold, whatever weekend. That's it. Kirstie Alley's the same way, though. She wants a takeout menu as soon as she hits the ground. Hits the ground. But I argue that Elvis didn't die. He just faked his death and moved up to northern Maine. James says, if I'm an alien, I demand my UFO. Is it a Russian ghost UFO, though? Who knows? Jack Stafford says, sure. Pretty sure Art is dead. Never heard about what happened to his son? I think I told him a very brief ghost thing. I couldn't explain. Probably am not a time traveler. No, what happened to Art's son? Did he get abducted? But yeah, the Coast to Coast AM stuff is absolutely great. Absolutely great paranormal stuff to talk about. I really enjoyed just Art having regular people on too, like authors that were writing about the ancient world. It's the first place I'd ever heard about the antediluvian times and the Apocrypha, right? And that's stuff I draw on for the Colossals, right? Available now on Indiegogo. Yep, you could be backer number 89 tonight, right now. And thanks to Art Bell, I heard about things like the antediluvian period. This is the time before Noah and stuff like that, when all this crazy shit was going on, right? And the Bible doesn't talk too much about it, but the Apocrypha really goes into the structure of stuff that led up to the flood. And it's the secret Bible, No one knows if it's true or not because it talks about Nephilim and giant people and fallen angels mating with mankind and stuff. It's really crazy out there stuff compared to your average Sunday school conversations you have about the Bible. So I encourage you to check it out, though. It's really good reading, really interesting stuff in the Apocrypha. And it's about the antediluvian period. There are the conflict in the Colossals #1. In fact, the conflict here is based on some of the history, or rather, whatever you'd like to call it, in the Apocrypha. The central point of conflict actually is about a character that I drew inspiration from the Apocrypha to build. Like thousands of year old character, right? And that the ancient evil I keep referencing in the ads, it's based on the Apocrypha, time before Noah. Yep. El Seed School, he's at the link in the chat there with Back the Colossals today. There's the link for you. You could be backer number 89. Got the full blast tier for you if you'd like to just have a copy of the book and the whole bunch of prints. They're not metal though, but they are high quality. And that's what we like around here. But yeah, I put a lot of the stuff I learned from Art Bell into my writing. It's like there's always something really interesting on there, whether it's real or not. Doesn't really matter. It's just captivating things that provoke your mind. And I guess there's a more functional link right there. Jack Stafford says, a story went around about Art Bell and CP stuff. Oh, that's terrible. People trolled him mercilessly, accusations all over the place. Turned out he was not a predator. His son was abducted. Oh, that's awful. Oh, it goes on. And since they shared the name Art Bell, both just saw the legal records and Art Bell and CP and drew wrong conclusions. His son went through hell. Art tortured for years trying to protect his son. And all they wanted to do was be creepy on the airwaves. That's all they wanted to do was just talk about weird stuff, out of the ordinary, thought-provoking, consciousness-expanding, crazy stuff, It never can be just that simple. It's always some overblown thing. James Hayes says, yeah, Art Bell is dead. Strange circumstances at that. Coast to Coast AM is now hosted by George Norrie. Oh, okay. Well, hey, I have to check that out. I didn't know it was still on in like a new fashion. I thought it was syndication. Gotta get my old radio set up again. The antenna poked out the window. Elsteed says to please use the second link and check out updates that are right there too. Pretty neat. But yeah, it's again, if you're just tuning in or you're watching this in a replay and you're looking over at the screen wondering what we're talking about, this is the Colossals. It's a superhero book, but it's based in Maine with a whole bunch of big ideas in it, right? Universe is 10 years in progress. Now, I don't mean that I've been working on this for 10 years. It's that the universe itself, the timeline of this universe, is 10 years going already. So these heroes are friends. Their origin stories have already happened. This issue number 1 reads more like an issue number 1000. It's meant to be a hit the ground running thing because everybody's tired of origin stories. You've heard about rockets in Sutton Field. You've heard about lightning hitting chemical cabinets at crime labs. You've heard about little boys following. Oh, no, never mind. Shazam. But anyway, the Colossals contains some really big elements to get this universe kicked off. There's 7 tentpole superheroes in this that each get a spotlight and characterization and that all feed into their own individual solo storylines. So as you go along, you're going to meet characters that would only appear in like Razor's comics and stuff like that if this were to be something that happened after the individual comics. But what I'm following is Zack Snyder's approach, right? So when we have one story, right? You have one movie that introduces the concept. Everybody gives you a nice little taste of who everybody is, what they do, how they do it, and how they feel about it. Then you springboard into these several different solo stories, right? And you can gauge the popularity of the characters to depend, to give you an idea of who gets the first release or gets a release at all, right? Because you don't want to go making stuff for nobody. So that's the idea with this, is that number 1 and number 2 are this big story to get all this stuff running and going. Number 2 really punches it down. So number 1 just gets you really ready to go, right? So you got to find out what's in number 1 so you get ramped up for number 2. And that is really what I'm hoping to accomplish with this book. It's so much action in it. I sat down and I said, I get really tired of this Bendis style paragraph after paragraph after paragraph exposition. I'm just going to floor it with the action. And so we found a way to nestle in memory moments in the backgrounds of the panels. We found a way to make sure that by color and by changing the perspectives of characters, you understood what was happening. So the action's happening for you right there in the foreground of the panels. But the subject of the battle is happening in the background. So you know exactly what each blow means, what's fueling each punch. You see it right in the background. It's a pretty interesting take on it. I took a lot of risks with trying to convey this story in an anime manga-esque way. I tried to stay away from manga because it's not really the style I want to emulate with it. I want to take the energy out of anime, take the energy out of tokusatsu, Super Sentai, and put it into this Ciderverse universe. And it all gets kicked off right here with the Colossals. Jack Stafford said he had to screen calls and put on a delay because people would call and say terrible stuff. Well, you know, it is what it is. His son's story. Oh my God, abducted, taken out in the middle school out of nowhere. I think he ended tragically too. There's just no escaping that stuff. When you hurl that rock, man, that's out there forever. George Norrie is great. Yeah, well, I have to go check it out because apparently there is a Coast to Coast AM YouTube channel. I did not fucking know this. Did you guys know this? I gotta check this out. Hold on a minute here. We'll zoom away from this for just a second and put it on my fancy avatar. I don't smoke cigarettes, just joints. I have a little bit of health conscience going on here. So, Coast to Coast. The actual YouTube. Son of a bitch. Wow. It's the real oh, wow. I can't believe I never thought to fucking Google the channel. God damn it, I feel like an idiot now. Oh well, I got it now. Might as well. I need to make sure to subscribe to this thing. Oh, I gotta sign in on my other. But I will be subscribed to this. Can't subscribe to me right now. I'm not logged in. My bad. But and no, I'm not logging in front of you. Nice try. But apparently they do have an Art Bell archive. And wow, Jesus. Oh. Wow. Okay, I'm going to be busy. Wow. Look at all that. Jack Stafford says the worst part with Art was that he was accused of what had happened to his son. Art was so good. And George Norrie is so fun as well. Well, your world is cruel like that, and there's no way to bounce back from that kind of accusation, and I don't know. I don't know what people would really have to pick at though, because I don't really remember Art being creepy. He was just more inquisitive about like what people who came on his show had to say, right? I don't remember him being like overtly weird or even sexual, really. But again, some of that may have been cut out when it was reposted to YouTube. But I wasn't watching it on this official channel. These were just recordings that somebody had when they from their old boombox that they did the mixtape recorders on, and so you can hear the hiss of the tape and the cassette tape in the background from being translated into the computer. Jack Stafford says the worst part is that Art was being continuously accused of something that had IRL happened to his son and couldn't say anything. George Norrie is so fun. No, it's okay. It's all right. It's all right. I think I read it right. But yeah, false accusations, you can't get away from those, you know? It's one of those things, right? It takes on a life of its own in those certain instances, and how do you disprove that stuff? You get cornered and terrible things happen. And that's why we shouldn't throw that stuff around under any circumstance, really. I'll admit it, I ended up blocking most of War Campaign because they started circulating that stuff with my name on it. They started saying that stupid shit. And I just blocked them. I was like, nah, I'm done. I'm not even going to play this game anymore. You guys don't want to back my book. Anyway, I'm out. I'm not going to stick around for you to continually tag me in this crazy shit. Yeah, okay. Hey, I'll get you the link to it. Hold on just a second there, Jack. Yeah. Get you a link to it so you can get on this as well. It's got everything, or most of everything. Jeez. It's pretty neat stuff. It's coming here in the chat right now. There you go. If you want to subscribe to the Coast to Coast AM George Norrie live, new postings as well as old postings. They have the Art Bell Vault, as they indicated right here in the homepage. They have the vault there. The Art Bell Vault. What a guy. What a guy. Sweet. But well, I guess Wiggle ended up kind of busy tonight, so maybe he'll come by another time for one of these. But we're coming up on 2 hours. That's a pretty big video to try and get people who are interested in the Maine Taxi Guy to sit through. So, as you know, the last hours had next to nothing to do with the Maine Taxi Guy. So if you guys stuck through it, I really appreciate it. Had a lot of fun talking about all the crazy stuff, and I'd like to keep talking about this crazy stuff. It's fun. I say crazy because I think that's just a fun way to say it. I'm not saying it in a derogatory manner. I don't think people are insane if they believe this stuff, as long as they remain, nonviolent, right? That's all I ask for. Everybody just stays nonviolent about their passion, right? So if we didn't cover what you wanted to talk about tonight, feel free to leave a comment down below after the video. We'll happily bring up stuff with the Maine Taxi Driver stuff. Unrelated, as you know, we just talked about aliens and Coast to Coast AM, time travelers. As you can see, this paranormal stuff goes in every which direction but up, right? So I'm happy to talk about it. I will be doing more of these Maine Taxi Driver exposed videos to try and just offer some light on this now that the channels making this stuff are starting back up again. Not to like diffuse what they're doing or take away from what they're doing, because like if you guys that are making these videos are watching, I'm not interested in stealing your thunder or anything like that. I just see so many channels out there and so many people are curious in the comments, and I was like, well, maybe now is a good time to just say, yeah, well, that happened here, that happened there. It was still really weird, but it wasn't that weird, you know. I don't want people thinking there's giant glowing elks in Maine, There could be, but I personally have not run into them, right? Just fuel barrels out in the middle of fucking fields. So embarrassing. But yeah, no, please go and search the Maine Taxi Driver stories over on YouTube. If you'd like to read them without the robo voice or Scottish accent, Australian accent, they're right on Google as well. Just search them up on Google. You can bear Reddit. They're posted on Reddit semi-regularly. It's not like automated or anything, but it seems like every 4 months there's a Maine Taxi Driver thread popping up. 4chan's the same way. I don't know about the other places that congregate this stuff, so you have to check it out for yourselves wherever you go to find your spooky doo if there's a collection of Maine Taxi Driver stuff. Huh? But yeah, you did. You used to have to, but now the internet's like, meh. YouTube, you can have it for free, right? I guess the ad revenue is probably better, right? If you offer it for free, you get the ad revenue and you could sell merch on top of it. Who knows? Maybe they do live streams. I didn't really investigate the channel too much. Can you imagine sending super chats to George Norrie, right? The face of Coast to Coast AM. That's something, isn't it? What a world we live in today. I can't wait till Tom Brady starts taking super chats. Isn't that going to be fun? But yeah, folks, just bringing you back around to the Colossals. If you're interested, there's the Spark tier. This is a digital tier, meaning when the book is finished, just right out of the gate, right? Letters done, colors done, it's formatted correctly, ready to go in the PDF for the printer. You're going to get that. That's right. And then a few weeks later, it might be a month because of the way the shipping thing's going right now. We never know where we're going to end up with that, right? It's always a pain in the butt. But because Australia cut off the stuff altogether, so shipping's a bit of a nightmare at the moment. But that's the goal, is to make sure that this PDF is able to get into your email so you get the story, and then you get to appreciate the art in your hands whenever we can get this in the mail. Hopefully it goes right out right there next year in July. And that's what we're aiming for right now. Update, I ended up having to pause the update I was working on to do this stream and stuff like that, but we've got the character bio artist back. They'll be appearing in the back of the book, right? So like all the character bios you see down here at the bottom of the here we go. See, like Star Supreme's bio, Shadow Spinner's bio, Isaac's bio, Delilah's. I'm going to be adding Razor's here in a little bit. Those will be in the back of the book. It's 64 pages, but 58 of that is content. 58 of that is the story itself. But then there's so many pages left over because of how printers work. So these will be what occupy that space, and a few other goodies, as we go along. I won't spoil too much for what happens at the very end, very, very end of the book, because that's very special. But you'll find these bios in the book to get more acquainted with them. The fonts may change just to make sure that they print out correctly, because somebody's already on their way to Indiegogo right now to back the Colossals. How about that? But sometimes these fonts don't format correctly when they go through, so the fonts may be a little different in the back of the book. But these are the bios you'll be getting in the back. The artist that does this is back from his previous project, and he's already working on these right now. New subscriber. How about that? Yeah, YouTube channel. Sweet. Used to have to pay for this stuff. Yep. Well, I really appreciate you guys sitting through the randomness of this 2-hour stream, and head over and check out the Colossals over on Indiegogo, and look for those updates. I promise I'll get them out here, because again, it's just an update on the production of stuff. It's nothing like a gigantic, huge problem update or anything. It's just, hey guys, look, there's been some more stuff that happened. So it's not like one of those disastrous ones, like the car got loaded up and the axle broke or something. It's just a production update, letting everybody know things are going great since the campaign closed, and everything's going. So James Hayes says, okay, good night, Cider. Hope everyone has a great day tomorrow. Yeah, well, I hope you do too. James. I hope everybody who sat through this has a great evening, great day tomorrow. And until I'm back again with more of this creepy stuff, I hope it all goes smooth and fine for you. So if you don't mind, I am going to play the intro as the outro, because I like the song. So here it is.
Listen, dumb bad shit to feel good. Now in every hood, F the other side. I don't wait for the truth. Misunderstood, dumb bad shit to feel good. Reputation ringing out in every hood. That's why I'm like F the other side. Eyes realize all those real lines. My voice sends chills, love to those in the session. My mind is listening, you know you get my mission. Meet me on the other side, M1. I fucked up this first, but I'm on one. Meet me on the other side, M1. I fucked up this first, but I'm on one. That's why I'm F the other side. Real eyes realize all those real lines. They made me hustle, but the night we play. They made me hustle, on the night we play.